Hi, everyone. It's your girl, Marie David, and I would like to welcome you all to the Black Women in Media 5th Conference and Awards. I have a special guest with me today. She is a writer. She's written for Forbes, Huffington Post. She has her own networking brand. Please give it up for Miss Brittany Oliver.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be celebrating you all today. Black Women in Media, congrats to 5 years.
Oh my God, right? So amazing. So amazing. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on all your amazing accomplishments. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm fine. I feel so much better after the first week of November.
I know, right?
It was a collective sigh of relief that happened. And so I'm just, trying to make it through 2020, the rest of the year, and looking forward to 2021 in January. And yeah.
Yes, I know our discussion today, we're going to discuss how to successfully pitch to a news journalist or a writer or what have you, or someone basically in your realm and what you do. But before we go into all that, I wanted to kind of get to know you a little bit, know a little bit about your background. When did you discover your love for writing?
Well, I always had a love for storytelling, even when I was younger. I always loved to just write short stories and, English or language arts, what they called it in elementary school. That was
Mm-hmm.
always my favorite subject. And even when we were bored, I would just write these just random short stories, just, making up characters. I had an imagination back then. And um, as I got older in high school, I got involved with the journalism club.
Yeah.
And so I ended up being the newspaper editor. And that was when I decided, I wanted to pursue actually public relations.
Wow.
Yeah. So public relations, because I loved coordinating and working with the community.
Mm-hmm.
I loved writing, and I felt like, wow, this is a good mix of the things that I love, like the events, building relationships, and writing.
I absolutely love that. When was your breakthrough moment and how did that feel for you? Like, do you remember that moment and what it felt like?
So my breakthrough moment, so it's twofold,
Yes.
because we're really, there's a journey to when I started writing. So like I said,
Yeah.
it was what I wanted to do when I moved to New York City after graduating from school. But little did I know that in an 8-month period, I would go on over 100 interviews to try to get a PR job.
Wow.
Yeah.
100. So people need to understand the hustle behind what it is that you do too. And although you're going to get a million no's, but you have to keep on doing it, because eventually you're going to get that yes. And that yes is going to open the door to amazing opportunities.
It does. And I was so young, fresh out of school, and I had a type A personality, very ambitious,
Yeah.
and I didn't understand why I was going through that. That was 100 times someone told me no, rejected me. That's how I felt. I felt like I wasn't enough. But now
Mm.
that I'm older, I can look and say that's 100 times someone passed up on my greatness.
Those of you who are watching, truly a gem. Absolutely. Absolutely. They definitely missed out
And
on your greatness.
you have to
Um,
change that around, take those
yeah.
negatives and use them as your power.
Oh my God. Tell us about the second breakthrough moment for you.
So the second breakthrough was through networking. Um, just random album release party my best friend was working at. And um, I brought a friend along with me who had a Howard University shirt, and it became a conversation starter. And
Wow.
that was where I met an editor who was also an alumni for Essence Magazine.
Wow.
And, we just kept in touch. and she invited me to just have like an informational meeting with her. And she really enjoyed that I kept in touch with her. We had so much in common. And so I fostered that relationship for a year until there was an opportunity to be like her assistant.
Wow.
And that was my breakthrough into journalism because PR wasn't working out for me. And so here I am. I never expected to be in media in this way. And I'm working in-house at Essence Magazine, like a dream magazine for so many women. And
What a dream come true.
it was, and I learned so much about myself. What I appreciated the most about that space was that there were Black women who were just unapologetic about their past, their future, and their present.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to let go of the shame that I carried from that difficult job search or career journey. And I was given this encouragement to just release that, to share my story and my truth. And I found my purpose. I absolutely loved storytelling and being able to champion other Black women in their careers.
I absolutely love that, Brittany. So fast forward now, here you are at your dream job. I want to know, how do you find your stories? How do you find the stories that you publish and write?
So it's a combination of things. People pick
Yeah.
you, of course, but the real source of interest for me is just conversations that happen online.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say, we move the culture online. Black Twitter, Instagram, and so there's especially Twitter. There's conversations that are happening.
Yeah.
It makes you curious, like, I wonder what this would look like if we can explore this a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I get inspiration for different topics, or even people. I discover new people from Twitter, just from them sharing a story about their personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I reach out and I'm like, I would love to, see if we could write a story about you.
Right. So I know in our industry specifically, clicks and views are so important, right? But where do you draw the line? And I want to know, like, do content matter?
So what you mean from clicks and views in terms of
Like, where do you draw the line? Because sometimes it could be a crazy story and you're like, maybe if I put this story out, it'll get us clicks, but I don't really feel good about putting this story out, so where do you draw the line to find that balance where you feel good about the content that you're putting out?
Awesome. So for me, I'm not moved by the clicks or if someone's like a social influencer.
Yeah.
I really would like to highlight untapped stories. There's so many people who are gems. They have so much insight. And a lot of times I see contributor writers, they leverage, writing for clout, right? To help grow their own following. And that's fine. But for me, I really want to be able to highlight people, those untold stories, people you don't really know about.
Yeah.
Because there's power in that. And with my niche, which is more so the career and business, it's not entertainment. It's not really a niche that really drives, the advertising dollars.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder to pitch, right? But there's with the right formula, you can get a yes.
Mm-hmm. And during these crazy times, I know there's, especially this year, there's been a lot of information, a lot of news, right? So how do you prioritize the story that's going out? Like, for example, we have COVID, we have the Black Lives Matter movement. It's just so much information. How do you prioritize what content should go out?
Mm-hmm. So, you definitely want to look at what's trending, right?
Right.
But what is the conversation? What are people talking about? Because of course, news is 24 hours, but things come and go, right? The story, what everyone's interested in. And so this is a business, right? So you
Yeah.
want to be in tune with what are people talking about at this moment. And then try to get ahead of the curve. Like if you see a trend that's going to happen, be able to find a way to tap into that trend and be the first to kind of break through
Right.
that particular trend. So yeah, so much has happened, and I think the key is to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Find a way when you're pitching to be helpful. How can your client, how can you be helpful to that particular outlet's audience?
Yes.
Because so much is happening. And I think everyone's just looking for one inspiration and just, tips and tactics on how to navigate the world we're in right now. So that's the job search, that's starting a business, any of
Yes.
those things.
Beautiful. And speaking of the pandemic, I know, so many people are working from home. I want to know, have, the pandemic affected you and your industry in any ways? Have you had to pivot? Pivot is our theme word for Black
Mhm.
women in media. So yes, how have the pandemic affected your industry?
Yes. So in the beginning, I think everyone was just kind of put on pause because no one knew what was going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was kind of a pause in pitching as a contributor writer for work that first month. But as time went on, opportunities came, and it's been a bittersweet moment for a lot of content creators and journalists
Yeah.
because no one wanted George Floyd or Breonna Taylor to pass away. But in their deaths, unfortunately, there's become this, greater heightened awareness or a want or a desire to tap into Black culture,
Mm-hmm.
to tell Black stories, and to amplify Black voices. So
Absolutely.
in that has created opportunities for a lot of us. And so you're seeing more Black writers, including me, get opportunities to write for some of these major publications in a way that it was harder before.
Before.
And we're able to tell our stories in these publications, in these pages. And another thing that has changed is, especially for print, we see staffs, the staff at a lot of our publications are dwindling, especially Black-owned publications.
Yes.
So, and that's another bittersweet thing because as editors are being furloughed or losing their job, that also creates opportunities for contributor writers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's budget for that in a way that they don't have to pay the overhead or like in healthcare, right? You can pay a contributing writer and that's easy. So
Yeah.
we're seeing that bittersweet thing, right? Someone's losing in order for someone else to gain.
Such crazy times, right? Crazy, crazy, crazy times. What are some of the disparities you've come across as a Black woman in your field?
Mm-hmm. So we started talking about it earlier. One is spend pay,
Mm,
and then two, just the opportunities to tell our stories. And so until most recently.
yeah.
So with the pay, and you as a writer, you really see these conversations happen on Twitter. Twitter is my jam, y'all.
Mhm. Yes.
But people are being so open now in a way that they weren't about pay and what type of pay they were getting. And so with those conversations happening online, it's allowing us to see the disparity in what people are getting paid, but it's also helping us to level up and know our worth and ask for more. Because now we're seeing the
Absolutely.
numbers, right? Like, oh, they're getting paid this. I'm about to ask and redo this contract, right?
Absolutely.
So I love that people are being open and honest about that. And it's not even just being a journalist. I mean, people are sharing book publishing um, feeds as well on Twitter. So
Mm-hmm.
a good time. People are being honest about that. And then the second thing would be opportunities. I know a lot of times we don't see ourselves in some of those major women's publications.
Right.
And it's difficult to break through. A lot of times you feel like, wow, do we as Black women have to be celebrity adjacent to be able
Mm-hmm.
to be featured on these pages or online?
Right. Right.
You know, we're so much more than that. We're not always we shouldn't always have to be tied to a celebrity to have worth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been a disparity of those opportunities to be able to, one, write about us or have those opportunities without someone saying it's too niche for us.
Right.
You
Right.
know? So I'm happy that more and more people are being open, but I just hope that it's not a trend or that it's going to go away. That they always make space for us.
Absolutely. And we're doing the work, and
Mhm.
all it takes is for us to use our voice, continue to do the work, and we'll break these ceilings and barriers that are in the way, so that way the next woman behind us, the younger ones, can come in and do what they need to do,
Right?
and continue to pass on the torch. I know our conversation today is centered around a successful pitch. So I want to know, how would you define a successful pitch?
So I would define a successful pitch short,
Okay.
sweet, and to the point. Um, Someone who pitch that is using data. I think data is really good to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then having an angle. I think that's something that a lot of people miss when they pitch. There's not that angle. You want that nice angle that piques the journalist's interest. What's going to really get the audience engaged.
Yes.
Oh, and good subject lines.
And good subject lines. Yes. And speaking of that, so we're talking about the emails. The subject lines are very, very, very key. And you did mention to keep it short, but what about cold pitching? Someone, like, you're emailing a complete stranger, and this person do not know anything about who you are and what brand you represent. How long? How much is too much?
Mm-hmm. So cold pitching. So when I mean short, so I mean like 2 paragraphs, right?
Okay. So we
Not
need a body.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need a body, y'all.
Sometimes people send, a whole article. And we
Yes.
need 350 words, but a nice 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph can be the intro, who you are. Um, some journalists like to be complimented, so say, hey, I really loved your last article you wrote, or I love that you write about X, Y, and Z. Because you write about this, I thought you would be interested in this particular person or thing or topic, and here's why. Include links. You want to make it easy for someone to just click and read more. Some journalists, they like the social media. Like if you have a client and you want to share how much social following they have.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I personally, it doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't make a difference to me.
Right.
But yeah, just how is this person different? How are they unique? What can they bring to the table?
And you mentioned social media too. I wanted to know, would you consider social media as a way to pitch, in terms of how you're posting, the content that you're putting out there, your captions? Can that be something that you can use to pitch to a company or someone like yourself?
Um, it just depends on what you're pitching.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
And what about elevator pitching? I know you mentioned keep it short, but let's say I'm a journalist and I run into you and I know, girl, what you do, and I got 30 seconds. What are the key words, or what are the must do's? Like, what would stop you in your tracks and say, hey, I need to listen to this girl really quick, and
Mhm.
and for you to walk away and remember who I am?
Mhm. So of course your name, right?
Yes.
But your why. And
Mm-hmm.
you see it on social media, like when people have their bios, that short, quick. I help a lot of marketers, like I help women create six-figure businesses or something like that. You
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to sum up what you do, your why,
Right.
in a quick 30-second pitch. Um, if you do know the person, maybe mention something that's relatable. So
Mm.
maybe your alum, or you know this person likes the Tennessee Titans. I don't know. So
Yeah.
find a way to find something in common, and then. But yeah, you definitely want to just sell what you do really
Yes.
quickly. That's the key.
Know your why and sell what you do. You hear that, ladies? Okay. I love it, love it, love it. I want to know, should you practice in front of your friends when it comes to pitching? I know sometimes, I don't want to tell my friends what I'm doing or who I want to, some people feel like certain things they have to keep it to themselves, depending on the haters. But then you do have your core people who's rooting for you, who wants you to get it right. So would you recommend pitching in front of your friends as a way to practice? Friends or family, yeah.
Yeah, definitely pitch to your friends and family, but I also would say take gems away from your family and friends. So if you
Hmm.
ever go to a space and your friend introduces you, they always introduce you better than you'll introduce yourself.
Right.
So listen to what they're saying, because they have a different perspective of who you are and what you do, and take some of those gems away. I remember I started changing the way I introduced myself based on how my friends introduced me. I'm like, that sounds really good.
Yes.
I'm gonna take that.
Right. A budding writer for,
Yeah,
and you're like, wait, really? Me? You thought
yeah.
about me like that? I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So I want to go back to the email
Mhm.
pitch. So, okay, here we are. We didn't send the email out, and now you're waiting. You're waiting to hear back. I'm waiting to hear back from you, Brittany. What is too much? How many times do I follow up? How do I follow up? What should I say?
Mhm. So you've got to give people grace. I remember, so I started in PR, like I said, and I didn't know what a journalist inbox looked like until I actually worked at Essence. And wow, I tell you, it's crazy.
I
So
bet it is.
you've got to give people grace to get through. And because if they don't know you, your email isn't going to be the first to
Mm,
be answered. So that's why the
mhm.
subject line matters. Um, so give people grace. Give like 2 to 3 days for people to get back to you.
Yes.
I don't recommend, because a lot of people do this, they'll send the email and then they'll follow you on all your social media handles and then say, hey, I sent you an email. You got to give people grace.
So that's a don't right there.
Yeah, so that's a don't.
That's
Or
a don't.
even following up on through a DM or on someone
Hmm.
sharing a comment. Hey, I sent you an email. Don't do, yeah, that's a don't. Just follow back up via the email that you sent. Give people grace. One thing I like to say is that a lot of times Mondays and Tuesdays are a lot of meetings for journalists,
Hmm.
especially Monday. They're sitting, they're going through, what that week will look like or what that month would look like, and they're talking about themes. So so by the end of the day, they kind of have an idea of what they want to feature in the next 2 weeks or in that week. And so then they'll look through, if they don't already have an idea that they had pitched at that meeting, they'll look through their inbox to see, I wonder if anyone sent me something that goes along with this.
Yeah.
They'll reach out. But Monday and Tuesdays can be kind of iffy because of those meetings. So I would say pitch Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Fridays are also iffy because it's slow, right? So people are kind of checked out, especially during the holiday season or in the summer.
Yeah.
So in between Monday and Fridays are the best days to pitch and the best days to follow up.
The best times to follow up. You hear that? You guys taking notes? I hope you guys, because Brittany is dropping some gems. Oh my God, from the beginning to end. I have a question. I'm not sure if you can answer it, but I wanted to know how much different is it when it comes to pitching for Black women, aside from like our counterparts, like white counterparts? You know, I know we're very expressive, you know, but do you feel like it's different? Can you be yourself when pitching? What is too much, you know?
So know your audience, right? And knowing your audience means know the audience of that particular publication. So for a Black publication, you can have more of that lax style, more of that voice that we normally have, some of the terms. I remember that was the toughest thing when I went from Essence to Fast Company. Having, when I would write, there were things that were just common for us. And my readers would be like, you have to explain this. What is this?
I don't get what that means, right?
And it's like, wow, like I really have to explain like the Black tax or in a way that the readers can understand. Whereas, redlining. I wrote an article about like real estate and I talked about redlining. But I think that for Essence, I don't have to explain what redlining is.
Right. We know.
Do like a whole paragraph on what that was and the history behind it, you know?
Right.
And so you just have to know your audience and what they're going to, how they're going to receive it. And so for me, I don't really change it up. I myself, when I pitch, and I'm clear about what I pitch. But if you're someone who, you know, spices it up a little bit and has more of your voice, just remember, you know, what works for one type of publication won't work for all. Even like going from a women's lifestyle mag to a business one. It's just two different
things.
Yeah.
So knowing your audience is also key. I want to know a story that you've written that kind of just, it was, you look back, you read it and you like, I did my thing. This was it for me, a highlight moment for you in your writing career.
There's two.
Okay.
So my first one would be my first Fast Company piece, because I was at a place where the only publications that I had written for were Black publications. So, you know, Essence, Exo Nicole. But I wanted to push myself. And that was my way of doing that. So I got a yes on the pitch, but that story was also a personal story because I talked about, the topic was the difficult journey Black women have in the job search. And so it starts off with my personal story. So it was vulnerable for me. So that one meant so much because so many people read it. People talked the conversation. And I remember pitching that to Black publications and they said no. And when I wrote it for Fast Company, I realized because of how it was received, I said, this is why it was supposed to be here, because Black women already know what that's like.
Yeah.
Right? But white women don't, white men don't, and anyone else that reads Fast Company might not realize what that's like for us. And they needed to read that so that we could, because the point for them to read that is to, you know, be the ally that we need.
Absolutely. I love that. Really quick, I want to get into your brand. Tell them about your networking company that you run.
Yes. So Lemons to Lemonade, that's my baby.
Yes.
And it was born out of, my experience. And so when I wrote about, my difficult job search, the first time I ever wrote about it was for Levo, which is now no longer, but it was also shared to LinkedIn. And on
Mm,
LinkedIn, it went viral. And from
wow.
there, I saw there was a community of people in the comments that were saying, "Hey, I went through this too. How brave!" Or,
Wow.
"Yeah, do you have more content?" Or, "Can we meet up?" And so that's when I started my website. That's when I started the Lemons to Lemonade newsletter, and it just kind of caught on. And so people wanted to like find a way to have a safe space where we can talk about career challenges.
Mm,
And so 2016, we had our first networking mixer at BuzzFeed.
wow.
Ever since, it's grown. And in 2018, we were able to take Lemons to Lemonade from New York into other cities. So it's been such a great experience, one, to be able to put um, people of color on stages, because a lot of times we're not given the space to talk about things besides diversity and inclusion, right? We
Hmm.
have an expertise, we have an insight outside of that. And so people are able to just share their insight, right? And be vulnerable. And then creating that opportunity for people to network with
Yeah.
like-minded individuals, and then partnering with companies so that there's recruitment opportunities for people to find jobs.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. Lemons to lemonades. I love it, love it, love it. Brittany, I have to ask, do you ever get writer's block? Oh.
Sharing my lemon.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I
And
really.
and and how do you tackle that? Do you kind of step away from it and say, you know what, let me find my zen?
Mhm.
Or let me have a glass of wine, or I don't know, a bubble bath. What do you do?
So for me, I have to just step away and do things that inspire me.
Hmm.
That might be reading a book. Um,
Okay.
Sometimes it's just taking that moment, lighting a candle, and listening to some music, right?
Hmm.
Or just going out to eat, or just being around friends, because being social can inspire you. Just topics that your friends share, they can just motivate you and get you excited about going back home to write. And so those are just some of the ways that I try to get through that writer's block.
I love that. And what advice would you give to an inspiring writer, someone who wants to do exactly what you're doing, if not similar?
To just do it.
Mm,
I think a lot of times we hold ourselves back because we're wanting, right out the gate, we want like a byline. But sometimes you just have to write for yourself. You can start off with journaling. You can start
hmm.
off with a blog. You don't even have to have a website. There's
Yes.
medium.com. There's
Yes.
LinkedIn blog. All of those places are places where you can just write, and then it catches on. But the number one thing is to just own it, right? Own your story, own your truth. Um, and you get better over time, right? You're not going to be perfect. Your first article or blog post or anything won't be perfect, but you did it. And that's what counts.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. You have me thinking about my first time writing and publishing my article. I was so, 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 so nervous.
Yeah.
And then, you know what used to give me really bad anxiety? If I had a grammatical error and the article is already published, and I had to tell myself, like, Marie, relax. You can literally just go back in, make
Mhm.
the edit, and update. So speaking of that, what are ways to kind of help when it comes to not running into missing out on punctuations, just making sure that your article is well written for your audience? What are some ways that you can kind of avoid mistakes?
Mhm. So one way is to write it, step away, and reread. Because when you give yourself space from the time you write it to come back to reread it, you'll find things that are missing.
Yeah.
And sometimes your editor is not going to pick that up. So write it and then walk away and then come back to it. You also can use tools like Grammarly. I love Grammarly.
Me
There's
too.
a free version and there's a paid one. If you're serious about it, go ahead and invest in the paid service because you can use that for email, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that helps to catch some things that
Yeah.
you may not, catch.
3 words to describe Brittany Oliver.
Resilient, caring, and I'll just say chill because I'm pretty.
I love it. And to the viewers listening right now, what advice? I know we're going through some crazy times right now, crazy times of uncertainty. 2021 is right around the corner. So what advice would you just give? Anything that you would like to share with those watching you right now?
I always love to tell people to create their own opportunity because I think 2020 brought a lot of people in a space of scarcity, space of lack. Opportunities were taken away from you. And you're grieving that. People were taken away from you and you're grieving that. So feel it, be in it, but don't let it hold you back or stop you. You can create your own opportunities without having to wait for a yes from someone else. There's, when you think about the job search, there's ways that you can make money out here from selling HelloFresh. I sold HelloFresh.
Yeah.
During the pandemic. It had healthcare and I got a check every week, right?
You had to do what you had to do.
What you have to do. So, be open. It might not be what you want to do or what you dream, but be open to those things. Humble yourself because once you do, space will be made for you to step into what you're supposed to do.
Oh my God, Brittany, this is amazing. First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with the Black women in media. Thank you for staying true to who you are. Thank you for using your words to move us, Black women specifically. What you do is so important. And thank you for pouring into not only myself, but the people who are watching you right now. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much, Marie. This was lovely. I really enjoyed our conversation. And, we just got to stick together, support each other.
Absolutely.
The next woman writer that you come across, follow her, share her stories. Those things count. They matter. Read and just amplify the woman writer that you know or the woman that you love. This work is thankless. We don't do it for the applause. We do it to amplify and bring opportunity for other people.
Absolutely. Really quick, give us your plug-in, your website. How can people check you out? Do all that.
So you can visit BrittanyOliver.com. So Brittney Oliver.com. And on there, in the shop section, I have 3 pitch workshops that you can download.
Yes.
So for those who are looking do-it-yourself tips to pitch your social media opportunities. Another one for those aspiring freelance writers, how to pitch yourself to get jobs, writing jobs. And the third one, how to pitch for sponsorships and partnerships.
That's amazing. Please tell your website one more time so that we could know.
Yeah.
One more time.
So BrittanyOliver.com.
Beautiful.
And
Thank you
there
so much.
you can follow Lemons to Lemonade and see
Yes.
what networking events we have in the pipeline.
That's amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of this event, Brittany. And I hope we get to connect again soon, right?
Yes.
All right. Until
Maybe in
next.
person.
Yes. Until next time, y'all. I am your girl, Marie David. Please give it up, y'all, for Brittany Oliver. Thank you. And
Thank
until
you.
next time.